Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be the final Muppet movie review for you guys. I have really enjoyed reviewing all of these Muppet movies to you in anticipation for the Muppets TV series, which finally premieres Tuesday. I cannot wait for it. But of course, let's just get into this movie. But before we get into the movie I'm going to be reviewing, I want to talk to you guys a bit about something. As you guys know, in 1999, of course, Muppets from Space came out. And as I told you guys in my Kermit Swamp Years review, that was the first Muppet movie to bomb. It didn't really make any money. Nobody really wanted to see it. So the Muppets sort of just became this TV special, TV movie situation where they just make TV specials every few years, but nobody really watched them and nobody really cared about them like they used to. Um, and after the Muppets Wizard of Oz, people really started to just not care anymore. They made a Christmas special called Muppets Letters to Santa, which wasn't bad. I probably will review that for you guys this Christmas. It's not bad, but it just wasn't the Muppets. It wasn't what it used to be. People just simply didn't care as much, unfortunately, which they probably should have, but they just really didn't. And then they started to release all these YouTube videos of them covering old songs, and people really started to like the Muppets again. And that, of course, is basically what made the 2011 musical comedy film The Muppets. Mainly because Jason Segel was a huge fan of the Muppets. He was a huge fan. He really wanted to get them back to what they used to be. So he teamed up with Disney, who had bought the Muppets at this point, to make a new Muppet movie, and that was probably the best thing to do for this movie. And as a result, The Muppets is not only a masterpiece and a perfect love letter to all the Muppet movies, it, in my opinion, is the best Muppet movie we've ever had. I really think it is, and I'll talk about why. Now, first of all, the thing I love about this movie is that it doesn't play around. The plot doesn't play around. It pretty much relates to what's going on in real life, because the movie basically focuses on another Muppet named Walter. He and his brother Gary. Yes, we have a great Muppet Caper situation where we have a human and a Muppet, and they're supposed to be brothers, and it's like the Great Muppet Caper where they're just making fun of that the whole time. Basically, they are the biggest fans of the Muppets. That's kind of how they've bonded very well. They've always had this bond because of the Muppets, and Walter is as big as a Muppet fan as you can imagine. In fact, he dreams that the Muppets will one day ask him to come back. So one day, when Gary plans on taking his girlfriend Mary, to Muppet Studios, to Hollywood, for a trip for spring break, he obviously invites Walter, and they plan on going. But when they get there, they realize that the Muppets just aren't as popular anymore. People just don't really care about them. So they decide to try to make this as an opportunity to get the Muppets back together, which Kermit is not sure about. While this evil guy Tex Richmond wants to tear down the Muppet Theater because he wants to make it into, and basically use it for oil. Basically, that's what he wants to do. To get the oil that's underneath it, and basically they have to stop him. Then basically they plan on putting on a telethon to make the Muppets relevant again, and that basically is the plot of the Muppets. And I remember when this movie was coming out, I was hyped up for it. I mean, I think I'm one of the few fans that never really didn't love the Muppets. I know there were some people that didn't, and what sucks is that, yeah, we kind of do live in a world where people still don't really care about the Muppets. In fact, I was having a conversation in my school with people. They were talking about the Muppets, and they didn't even know what I was talking about when I talked about the certain people. They're like, I don't know the names of these people. So you can see how not relevant the Muppets are, and this movie really portrayed that very, very well. But the thing I loved about it is that it mainly was a passion project. It was a passion project that Jason Segel had. So it's no, questioning why Jason Segel, and Amy Adams and Walter are the main characters of this movie. The Muppets are the main focus, but Gary, Mary, and Walter, they are the three main leads here. And Jason Segel does a fantastic job as Gary. He basically is us. He is that great Muppet fan. He is that Muppet fan that you've been, he is that nostalgic Muppet fan that never left the Muppets, that always cared about them. What I love about him is that he always cares about his brother. Even though he has this girlfriend, Mary, he is always with his brother. He's always concerned about him, and it kind of becomes a problem for Gary and Mary, but I thought he did a very good job, as did Amy Adams as Mary. She brought the necessary charm that this movie needed, and I really don't think they could have casted anyone better besides Jason Segel and Amy Adams. They clearly understand what the Muppets need to be. They understand how to be in a Muppet movie. They're not taking it too seriously, but what I like is that they're not afraid to have some serious scenes between the two of them, which they do have, and they do a very good job with, and they have very good chemistry with, definitely. And I thought that was definitely very well done. That's something I've definitely really enjoyed. Chris Cooper is perfect as Tex Richmond. He is exactly what a Muppet villain needs to be. He doesn't take this seriously at all. He's hamming it up the whole time. There's a lot of Doc Hopper in him, but what I like is that he doesn't try to be Doc Hopper. He tries to be his own villain, and he does a very good job with that, and that's something I thought he was definitely very, very good with. Very funny, and definitely one of the best Muppet villains there's been. I can't really pick a favorite Muppet villain because they've all been great. Rashida Jones as well is very good as Veronica, who you can tell really does want to help the Muppets, even though she knows they're really not that relevant anymore, and I really liked her character as well. She definitely did a very good job. And there's some fantastic cameos in this movie. The movie really brought back the fantastic cameos and what makes a cameo great. These cameos are what Muppet cameos need to be. They're there for a couple scenes, the Muppets have fun with them, and then they go away. And they did a very good job with that. They were very funny, and I would tell you all the cameos in this movie, but they're really great. All of them are really great, and they're all very funny to watch. And of course, the Muppets are great in this movie. They really are fantastic. But they do some really, really clever things with them. I mean, this is probably the most creative Muppet movie we've had, just in terms of what they do with the Muppets. It very much is like the Muppets Take Manhattan, where they've all split up, except in this movie, it's more of we actually see them, so it works very well here. Just seeing what they've all done after, seeing how Fozzie's joined joined the Muppets, which is basically a knockoff of the Muppets. It's what Tex Richmond feels is going to be more relevant today. That was very funny. But I think my favorite subplot has to be Animals, who Animal is by far one of my favorites in this movie because of the fact that he basically has gone to anger management classes, so every time he hears the word drum, that's like his trigger word. He tries not to freak out, he tries not to play the drums, and it's as funny as you can imagine for Animal. It was so funny to see this calm, soothing Animal when we're so used to him being outrageous. It was actually a very funny character arc for him that I definitely really enjoyed. Kermit and Miss Piggy, of course, are great, as is Fozzie, as is Gonzo. Everyone's fantastic in this movie. But of course, we have to talk about Walter, who was a new Muppet, who could have easily just been very much just like, oh, we need to get a new Muppet in there. Very much like, what Muppet Treasure Island did, Muppets from Space did. But that doesn't happen at all here, because Walter was perfect for this movie. Walter is exactly what everything the Muppets are. I mean, he's trying to find a characteristic about him. He's trying to find what matters, why he deserves to join these Muppets, and you can see the passion that he has for them, and definitely it kind of goes with the message of everyone in their own way is sort of a Muppet, because everyone has some unique quality to them, and I definitely really like seeing that. He did a very good job, and I think introducing a new Muppet for this movie was perfect, because especially for this movie where we haven't seen a Muppet movie in 12 years, which is crazy that they finally made a Muppet movie in 12 years. It's great that they were able to bring a Muppet in there and not make it feel weird. It felt organic. He just felt like he fit in there, and it really worked perfectly. I think it did, at least. So yeah, overall, all the acting is great, and everyone did a great job, and that's something I thought was definitely very well done. The directing by James Bobbin, you can definitely tell that he understood what the Muppets need to be. He didn't take it too seriously, but he also added some very, very good heart in there. You really care about the Muppets in this movie. You don't just see them as just socks, talking socks. You don't see them that way. You see them as actual people, and they did a very good job with that. You see all of the characteristics, and honestly, it very much is like a modern-day Muppet movie because of the fact that they wanted this to be the comeback movie for the Muppets, and they really did a very good job with that. I thought the passion behind it was great. You really felt the passion that this director had, and he definitely did a very good job, and that's something I definitely really enjoyed. The writing as well was very, very good, and as I said, it was very cool to see the Muppets in a modern-day setting. There's nothing Hollywoodized about this. This is the real world. Well, kind of the real world. There are some ridiculous things here and there. Of course, it's a Muppet movie. You're not supposed to take everything that seriously. But I like that they weren't afraid to tell the story of just people that don't give a shit about the Muppets anymore. They're not very relevant. Not as many people care about them, but they want to do whatever they can to prove that they're relevant again. It's a very compelling story, and I was very, very into it, and they did a very good job with that, definitely. It's something I thought was very well done, and I really, really enjoyed seeing the Muppets, try to prove why they're important, what their passion is, why they've done all this in the first place. It was very well done, and definitely something I really enjoyed watching. But something else I really enjoyed is that it did have some of those classic things that made the first three Muppet movies so good. There are breaking the fourth wall moments in this movie. There are, as I said, great celebrity cameos, and there are adult references. They do all of those very, very well, and I definitely really enjoyed that. This is also probably the first Muppet movie that the humans fit in so organically. It worked in the Muppet Movie and Great Muppet Caper and Muppets Take Manhattan, but the humans didn't have much of a character. They were there for a specific reason, and that really was it. Here, Gary and Mary feel just like they fit right in. They feel like they've been there the whole time. I mean, they don't feel like they're out of place at all. That's something I was worried about with this movie, is that are they going to make the humans feel like, they need to be in there, and they did a very good job with that. They fit in perfectly, and I really love their characters. And like I said, they have a really nice romantic subplot that I actually really did care about. And the thing I love is that we haven't seen these characters before. We haven't seen these characters before, but we care about them because we're able to connect with them, and we understand the struggle they're going through, and they did a very good job with that, and that's something I definitely really enjoyed. And like I said, the creativity put into this movie is great, and there are so many great classic references to the Muppet movies. I will tell you guys, though, that I don't think you're going to like this movie as much. Like, I really loved it when I first watched it, but if you're like me, who just binged all the Muppet movies, you're going to love this even more than you think you did. I mean, I was surprised by how much I loved it even more. I didn't think it was going to be my favorite, but it honestly is, because it's exactly what the Muppets need to be. The cinematography was also great. You could tell they got that budget back. They kind of lost it in Muppets from Space, and they have it back here. I mean, there's literally a scene where there's an explosion, and Fozzie says he can't believe they had it in the budget. It's so great. There are so many winks to the camera like that, but it feels organic because that's what the Muppets have always been. They've never been something you take too seriously, and that's what I thought they did a very good job with here. Cinematography is really great, and it's definitely something I really enjoyed watching. And I forgot to say also, guys, this movie definitely does have a lot of heart to it. There are some scenes that almost made me cry, honestly. There are some scenes that are very, very emotional, and if you have a connection to the Muppets like I do, and, you realize why they're important, you might actually feel some emotion toward them. And again, they're just talking Muppets. You shouldn't feel an attachment to them, and they actually make fun of that in this movie. Why should we give a shit? Honestly, why should we give a shit that they're Muppets? Why? Because they're just talking, there's nothing that different about them. There are other people like them. There have been other animated movies. Why do we care about them so much? I think it's because of the characteristics they all have and the passion that they have and the way they want to make this, the goal that they want to do. I think that really is what it's all about, is that they kind of, symbolize what we as humans want to be. We all want to be like the Muppets because they're unstoppable. They want to do whatever they can, and even when they're told they can't do something, they do it anyway, and that's something I think the Muppets have always been great with. And Jason Segel, you could tell, like I said, he did a very good job with the screenplay. He was very passionate about it, and they did a very good job with that. But like I said, cinematography had a much bigger budget, you could definitely tell, and some of the musical numbers in here feel like the Great Muppet Caper. Like, they go all out, ensembles, they do all kinds of different musical styles, and it was probably the best time to do a Muppet movie because music has changed. They can basically do whatever the hell they want in terms of music, and they really do. There's no song that sounds like another song. That's something I was very impressed with, because toward the end, some of the Muppet films did sound like similar songs, and this really doesn't. There's a Broadway-style song, there's a rap song, there's like a disco song, there's a really powerful ballad in there. There's a ridiculous power ballad. I mean, there's really nothing that feels alike, and all the songs are great, and that's something I think they did a very good job with. The score was absolutely fantastic, and Brett McKenzie did a very good job with it. This is the first Muppet film, I think, to win an award for Best Original Song. I remember when they got it. Now, a lot of people have questioned, why does Man or Muppet nominate? Why not Pictures in My Head? Why not Life's a Happy Song? I don't know. I think Man or Muppet got it because it really encompasses everything the Muppets is. It's a ridiculous song. It is ridiculous. You know, it could be this really emotional song, but it's ruined by the Muppets, and that's why it's so funny. It's a great song. There's so many highlights in terms of songs, though, in this movie. Life's a Happy Song is just, you want to be positive and you just want to be like in a really positive mood. Turn that song on, and if you're not in a positive mood, it'll put you in a positive mood. That's how positive that song is. Pictures in my head probably will make you cry. I was almost crying when that song came on, definitely. It's a very sad song, especially when you think about how long the Muppets had, you know, since they made an original movie again, and they made a movie for the movie theaters. It's very sad. And then, of course, they brought back Rainbow Connection for this movie, and it's as emotional as you can imagine. I did not expect to get that affected by it, but I was on the verge of tears with that song because it brings you back to that Muppet movie. It shows you this is where we've gone. This is, you know, it really feels like we've been on this journey with the Muppets, and they've made it. They've proved themselves again. It's very well done. They definitely did a very good job, and that's something I thought was definitely very, very well handled, and I very much appreciated that. The editing as well to this movie, it's very, like, quickly edited. It's very fast-paced, like a Muppet movie should be. But it's also the longest Muppet movie. It's 103 minutes, and it needed to be long. It really needs to be. In order for them to tell this story, it needed to be this length, and I'm happy that they went pretty long. It wasn't like 90 minutes like it usually is, and it wasn't like Muppets from Space was like 88 minutes. I was into this movie the whole time, and there was not one point where I'm like, oh, that scene should not be in there. Everything felt like it had to be in there. It felt important, and it felt like the movie really had something to say. You know, it really showed why the Muppets are important today. Really, it did, and they did a very good job of that. Also, I have to talk about the marketing for this movie, which is some of the most genius marketing ever. I mean, when this movie first came out, they promoted it as this romantic movie between Jason Segel and Amy Adams and Chris Cooper called Green with Envy. And then they reveal it to be the Muppets. I remember that trailer threw me off, but that's the point. It's so well done. Then they did a parody of The Hangover, then they did a parody of The Green Lantern, and it really goes with just the Muppets aren't as popular. It's like, oh, you were expecting this? Yeah, no, the Muppets are back, and that's why it really showed why the Muppets are important. You know, it showed how witty the Muppets can be, how funny they can be, how good their parodies are. I mean, it was just so clever. The marketing for this movie, like I said, I think is some of the best marketing of all time, and especially for a Muppet movie, this is by far the best marketing the Muppets have ever done. It was very clever, and I definitely really appreciate that. Very, very well done. And the movie was a huge success. I mean, it's the only Muppet movie to have a 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. Even the Muppet movie only has 88%. This has, I think, 94%, and that is very, very impressive. It definitely deserves it. It really did its job on showing why the Muppets were important again, and also the ending. The ending, I think, is just great. The way the movie ends really feels like the way the Muppets have gone. You know, they kind of went away for a while. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys know the end of the movie, that the Muppets, you know, do end up succeeding in their mission, even though Tex Richmond ends up shutting things down and they don't make the money that they need to for the telethon. They are still relevant because they brought back, they drew their fans back in, and their fans are happy to see them again, and they've completed that mission, and it really feels like the way the Muppets are going. I mean, they made the Muppets, then right away they said, hey, we're making a sequel, right away. I mean right away, like right after this movie was made, they said there's gonna be a Muppet movie sequel, and that of course was Muppets Most Wanted, which I've already reviewed, and you guys can check out my review for that. And that's why it really feels like that's where the Muppets have gone. And now they're making this TV show. They're finally back to what they were, and that, I think, was just the perfect ending because it really just went with how the Muppets have gone. They've gone from this silly little kid thing to really showing why they're important again. I think that's really is what the Muppets did. It did its job. It's exactly what a Muppet movie should do, and that's something I thought was very well done. I definitely really enjoyed that. Also, I forgot to talk about the Muppets. Very, very clever idea. I mean, they are exactly what you could imagine. They're the complete opposite of the Muppets. There's nothing happy about them. They're like, you know, they're like from prison. They wear all black. I mean, it's about as different of the Muppets as you can imagine. I think they did a very good job with that. It was very funny. The movie as well is hilarious. There's so many funny moments in this movie. It's really funny to watch, and overall it does exactly what Muppet movies should do. And of course, the Muppets gets a 5 out of 5 or an A+. It's the best Muppet movie we have ever had. It did what it meant to do, and it really showed why the Muppets are important again. And that's it, guys. That's it for my reviews of the Muppet films. And I can't believe that I'm done with these reviews. I really enjoyed reviewing these movies. Even when I reviewed, like, Kermit's Swamp Years, which I am throwing in the garbage. I don't care what you guys say, I'm throwing it in the garbage. The Muppets Wizard of Oz, which also wasn't very good. I still had a great time reviewing these movies. Mainly because I knew I was going to get to this and I could talk about this movie, which I thought was very well done. There were so many great things about this movie, and I just really enjoyed reviewing all of these movies to you guys, and I can't wait to see how the Muppets TV show turns out. I'm hearing not actually very good reviews about it, but I just want you guys to know, if you hear these reviews, just keep in mind the Muppets was never meant to be something for kids. It was always meant to be something for adults, and this movie really shows that. You know, kids aren't the thing that's drawing the Muppets back in. It's the adults that grew up with them. And yeah, I'm 17. I don't have, I can't say I watched The Muppet Show since I was little, because I haven't. I have had The Muppet Show Season 1 on DVD, but that's really all I've seen of The Muppet Show. It's just the DVD I've had. So I can't really say I've had that attachment to them. But watching these movies really feels like I've gone on this journey. I've fell in love with the Muppets again. I've seen why they're important, and it's made me even more excited for the TV show, which I can't wait for, and that review will definitely be coming to you this Tuesday, and I can't wait to review that. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie. You have seen it. I'm so happy to review all these movies to you guys. What is your favorite Muppet film? Are you excited for the TV show? Did this movie do what it was meant to do for you? That's based on my review. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for the series premiere of Blind Spot. I am watching the premiere early. I already started watching it, and I will review that for you guys and see you guys for that. Okay, bye.